after all the things that have happened, we're looking for one solution, and I think that's been our problem, right? And now, I'll tell you another little tidbit fact about me. I took jujitsu as a child, right? I'll tell you why. Because one day I got on a bus, and 5 kids with razors came on the bus and took my hat, $10 out of my pocket. I appreciate you beating one of those kids up, Southpaw, but I couldn't get stuff back, and I went home and I was so mad. I was like, Mom, they got the drop on me. I was like, how do I fight 5 people? You know what I mean? So in that time, there was no Google, right? Listen, I'm 40 years old, okay? When I was born, the TV had 13 channels. It went off at 1 a.m. and it came back on at 5:30, all right? People wrote real letters to one another, all right? So I looked at an encyclopedia. I was like, karate, jujitsu, this sounds amazing. This is like ninjutsu, but you know, you grapple, you throw people, you break arms. So I studied under a sensei named Stanley Thompson, who was an African-American Vietnam veteran, who told me about a lot of very interesting experiences that he had there. And interesting experiences because if you thought that Harlem was crazy in the 80s and 90s, he said imagine it in the 60s and 70s, brother. But he taught me something interesting. He taught me that I could manipulate anybody by grabbing hold of their finger and breaking it. And believe me, as being a person who fought a lot in the street, I proved this theory to be correct. If you snap somebody's finger, you can really make them move because there are a lot of nerve endings here. And this is the problem that we've had, and I'm only bringing this up because of this. We've always thought that there's one solution to the problem. The civil rights era, oh my God, you know, Christianity, Jesus is going to save us. Oh, some people, it's not Jesus, right? It's Muhammad, so it's Islam that's going to save us. Some people say, no, it's not religion, it's communism. Communism's going to save us. And then people say, no, it's not that. It's accepting that we're all one. And a spiritual movement that has nothing to do with religion is going to save us. Or then something else is going to save us. And we've always been fighting against the system with one finger, but we were not colonized with one finger, ladies and gentlemen. We were colonized because our economic structure was destroyed. A quasi-socialist system, or whatever you want to call it, was then turned into an imperialist fucking kleptocracy, right? We had a working, functional, quasi-functional political systems in many ways, but that political system was replaced with monarchy. And I don't think people understand what monarchy is. You think it's a king or a queen. That's only half the equation. A monarchy means that God has designated you. All right? That means not only have you adhered to a religion, but when you say that person's a king, you decided that God put them there instead of you. That God decided that they knew what was right for you than there. Because if they hadn't, why else would 100,000 people go to war for one man's greed? Huh? In England or France, why the fuck would we go over there and fight these people? Because God told them that we would do that. And when we look at that, we say, man, so we've been colonized by that. We've definitely been colonized by our relationship with our women, right? That's been destroyed in indigenous and African people. The economic structure, everything. And our sense of history, and our religion. So if all of these things have taken hold on us, and we're constantly trying to fight them with one thing, ladies and gentlemen, why do you think that we're being shown mercy? Why do you think that we're always snapped back? Why do you think that we're always betrayed? Why do you think there's always a sellout? Why do you think there's always a snitch? Because we keep thinking one thing is going to be the solution. Because we're not working in conjunction with one another. Because there are not enough lawyers talking to doctors, talking to teachers, talking to other healthcare professionals, talking to other people that can help them, talking to venue owners that can be a safe space that we can have this, reaching out to people from different communities to say, I know that we have some things apart, but I know that there are some things that we have alike. Yes. And that's why I think this is important here. I want us to have not just a conversation with me, but after this, a conversation with each other. Turn to the person next to you after I shut the fuck up and say, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. What do you do? I work in a bookstore. Great. Let's use that. Let's do something with that, right? Or I'm a lawyer. Oh, wait a minute. How can I contribute to this cause? But when I say today, listen, a person leads by example. So we're donating funds today. I came here. I'm the one that's supposed to get paid to be coming places. And yet I want to make this donation of my own personal money, right? So I encourage other people to make donations of personal money so that we can afford to do this, right? We're going to have a hat later on and we'll pass this a couple rounds. So that whenever people have at the door, there's another $200, right? So if you have $10, $5, we can donate it so that we work on these cases. I also think that it's important that we realize that artists don't always have the answers. Right? A lot of times we've made them the de facto leaders of a movement, when in reality, sometimes they're just brought there because they're famous and they don't understand the actual things that they're talking about. Now this happens at a lot of panels that I've been on. They bring somebody famous who's had a few hits that gets up on there and embarrasses themselves because they really don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's not their fault. It's the organizer's fault. You should bring someone there who, forget celebrity, understands what they're talking about, because 10 to 15 dedicated people are more important than 1,000 people that are going to do nothing. Right? I would tell you, I'd rather run with a pack of 20 wolves than a herd of 200 sheep. And you know why? Because there ain't no wolves in the circus, motherfucker. I also want to say this. If we're going to teach from our failures, I should teach from mine. I've said things that are blatantly misogynist in the past. I've said things that are homophobic. I've said things that are insulting to certain communities. Never racist, because I grew up in Harlem and I had, so many individuals around me. But I think in order to face those things, I had to be confronted about not just how they related to my personal life, but also how I was destroying myself as much as I was hurting other people. I was taking away from my own humanity in that way. And my sister was the one that educated me. She would say, Felipe, people don't call other people a quote-unquote fag because they're gay in the hood. They call them that because they're weak, right? And I said, yeah. You're a student of history, aren't you, Felipe? Find history someone who's ambiguously heterosexual that you would never want a problem with. So I said, wow, okay. I started looking through history. I said, Caesar, wow, don't want a problem with him. Richard the Lionheart, J. Edgar Hoover, these are people that are ambiguously heterosexual, or gay, or lesbian, whatever. I was using the wrong word. I was using it to dehumanize people. It took me stepping away from my own ego, right? Stepping away from people that would criticize me and say this. But it also took me to look at things that I thought were stable in my life, right? I thought, man, my sister said, what do you do to prevent yourself from being raped when you come home at 4 o'clock in the morning? I said, man, I never thought about that. What the fuck? She said, if I hear someone behind me, I wait until they pass me. She said, when I go into a doorway, I make sure nobody's behind me. I keep my keys in my hand. She said, I will never take a drink from a man unless he drinks from it first. These are things that we as men don't even think about, because we would never think that someone would do that to us, then rape us, and then tell us that because you were wearing shorts, I just couldn't resist to do that to you. And that maybe if you were wearing long pants, brother, you wouldn't have got raped. Woo! Imagine that insanity, right? I'm not saying you need to change overnight. I'm saying that every stage of your life requires a different, better version of you, right? It requires you to step up. It requires you to make sacrifices, because that's the only way we're gonna do this. That's the only way we can succeed. I think that for me, especially being incarcerated, I learned that it wasn't a rite of passage. It didn't make me tough. It made me a slave. And when I talked about it in my music, I said, it's not my right to brag about it. Rather, it's my responsibility to educate young brothers and sisters that is not a rite of passage, that doesn't make you tough, that takes you away from the movement, that you're the realest nigga in there with someone else raising your child. You're the realest person in there with someone else fucking your wife. You're the realest person in there with somebody else taking care of all your problems. And again and again and again and again, I remind people that when I was in there, I was thrown in the hole for nothing. And an indigenous dude named Judge, a Native American cat, gave me a piece of paper and a pencil and said the realest shit to me that I've ever heard in there. He said, brother, don't go crazy. Write your story down. And I said, why? He said, because if you don't write your story down, someone else will write it down for you. And you won't be the person you are in the story. Right? In the same way, the people that have demonized immigrants and come after us, they haven't read the story right either. Most of them, I call them the salad bar Christians, they think they're the Hebrews in the story. No! They're the Romans, ladies and gentlemen, okay? A person who took an empire from somebody else, took those lands, and forcibly made those people believe in their religion and doesn't even respect that religion, nor the people, nor the sacrifices that were made. So even if we act or pretend that we speak English correctly, even if we adhere to a religion that you forced upon us, even if we pretend to like you when we don't like you, even if everything about us is bent so that we can possibly accommodate you, it's still never going to be good enough. So why do we keep trying to bend ourselves to accommodate people that we will never be good enough? Ladies, gentlemen, stop loving people that don't fucking love you back.